morning, everybody. I am here today with a friend of mine that I met some years ago in my days with Coldwell Banker. But Sean Carpenter is a seasoned real estate professional with a rich background in the industry, which is one of the reasons why I asked him to be here today. He's been licensed since 1998. Has an extensive history with Coldwell Banker King Thompson, and his roles include being the director of training and development for NRT Ohio. And for those not familiar with NRT, NRT is a corporate branch of it used to be Realogy, and now it's anywhere real estate. And so they are the big conglomerate that owns many brands in the industry, with Coldwell Banker being one of the biggest, and NRT is that right arm of the company. So they're company-owned stores, and he's the director for the Ohio NRT companies. And he's also the founder of Sean Speaks, LLC. So where he demonstrates his expertise in real estate coaching and training. So welcome, Sean. I appreciate you being here with me today and taking the time to give me some insights on the market.
Good to be with you, Paul. Always fun to talk about our industry and the people in it and how we can help the people that need our support.
Yeah, I've been to so many of your presentations, and of course, we see you showing up at different conferences all around the country. You're in high demand for being a speaker or a moderator, and I love that about you. And I love running into you every time you come into Orlando. I think it's a wonderful thing. So how did you transition from being a licensed realtor to a renowned coach and speaker in the business?
Yeah, so my evolution, I'm still a licensed realtor in Ohio. I just have moved through a lot of different seats in the industry. I started as an agent back in 1998, worked pretty hard as an individual agent for the first 4.5 years in the business. A couple of years into the business, I was given the opportunity to become an assistant manager in our office, which at the time, Paul, meant that I was still an agent. I was still primarily focused on building and getting my own business, buyers and sellers, but I was able to assist the manager with some training, with some meetings, with some recruiting visits. Really just was there to help answer some of the surplus of questions and needs that came along. And I got a very small stipend on that, but I got to sit in the leadership meetings and kind of watch what was happening with the company, and really started kind of becoming an opportunity to become a little more of a leader in the office. As time went along, a branch manager position opened up. Our manager was leaving the company, and they asked me to step into that role, which was a decision I had to make, because the good part was that I was going to get a paycheck and benefits and a salary. The bad part is I was going to have to stop selling because we were non-selling managers there. And so where we were in our life, my wife and I, we just had our first child. So to have a paycheck and have benefits as an independent contractor sounded like a pretty good idea. Not selling was a challenge, but I wanted to get into a leadership role. But Paul, as you know, when you're a manager, you might not be selling with buyers and sellers, but you're selling every day, aren't you? You're selling the industry, you're selling the company, you're selling the office, you're selling the sales meetings, you're selling the technologies and tools and affiliate partners that you have. And so I did that for 2 years. And in that time that I managed the office, we grew our office. The recruiting became my sales, but I realized I loved the coaching and training part of the job, and I hated the managing part of the job. So I became the director of education. The president of our company had watched me and watched the way I worked with the agents and grew the office and grew the agents. And so I became the director of education and was given kind of a blank slate to build it the way I saw fit. I was in Columbus. We also had the company in Cincinnati. So I was in charge of both the training platforms in both those cities. And I did that for about 11.5 years. And over that time, I started speaking around our company. I started speaking at Columbus Realtors. I started speaking at Ohio Realtors. And I started getting invited to other places around the country to speak. And then I just made the decision in 2016 to leave the director of training role, leave the paycheck, leave the benefits, bet on myself, go back to being an agent, to work on my passion of working with buyers and sellers and selling, but then also open up my own company called Sean Speaks, where I got a chance to speak to audiences around the country. And that became a huge passion of mine. If I had to choose one of the two, it'd be speaking, because I get to impact, I think, more people than just one client at a time. But I still actively sell because I think it allows me, Paul, to keep my finger on the pulse of the industry. When I stand up on a stage in front of a room, the fact that I'm still actively selling, the fact that I know what it's like to be with buyers and sellers, high interest rates, low inventory, I think there's some credibility there. And then I added the coaching platform in a couple of years ago when COVID happened, and some of our top agents and teams in Columbus and Cincinnati needed that extra voice and guidance. And our president reached out to me and said, would I come back as a kind of an outside consultant, because he knew that agents would respect my viewpoints as an agent, as a speaker, and as a national person who gets around the country to see what's happening in the industry. So long answer to the question, but That's how I've evolved through all the different channels.
Yeah, I think going through all those different channels are what make you a very successful coach and speaker. I mean, you got to have all of that experience, right? It's one thing to be great at sales, and then you become a coach, and it's like, you get out of production and all you're doing is coaching people. You're not keeping your finger on the pulse. Like you said, it's so important to stay in this business. That's why, like with my CE and things that I teach, it's coming from real world experience, not only former managing broker positioning and seeing all the other agents, what they go through, but I'm going through things on a daily basis as well since I've been back in sales. And I think that's important to keep you well-rounded and keep you on top of what's going on in today's market. Because the one thing I did discover when I left management, I didn't go back into sales right away because I left management in November of 19 and took some time off, and then COVID hit. Quick change of plans, and after a few months, that's when my wife and I decided to team up, go back into sales. We knew that we can do it, so it's like, all right, let's go do that. But it's been as getting back into sales after all those years of being a non-competing manager, it was really different. It was a whole new learning experience, starting over, because things were a lot different in 2020 when I got back into it than it was in 2011 when I left sales to become a manager. So it's good to have that well-rounded experience and then, continue forward. So from all of your experiences, you've been in the market a long time, much longer than me. And I give you a lot of credit for that, because after 20 years, I'm like, man, I'm trying to keep my head above water, because it's like, at 20 years is a long time. So you've been in much longer, but so you've seen a lot more changes. And from your experience, what are the key factors that have significantly changed in the real estate market over the years?
Well, obviously the easy answer is technology, right? How we've grown, the technology and the demand of today's consumers has changed drastically, right? I mean, the trustworthy, I'm going to reach out to my doctor, I'm going to reach out to my realtor, I'm going to reach out to my accountant, is now replaced by, I'm going to Google, I'm going to chat GPT, I'm going to go to WebMD, I'm going to go to Zillow, bypass. The thing that's interesting is doctors are still in business, accountants are still in business, and realtors are still in business, because the trust factor that we've earned by being in the business for so long and taking the pre-licensing classes and the CE classes that you teach, Paul, and the things that we can do to become that professional in our business, I think is the biggest change. The need for a professional to help you in a transaction as big as a real estate transaction is, right? It's the largest expense someone's ever going to put on the table, either on the buy side or the sell side. And to have a guide in that journey, I think is critical. But just watching the evolution of the technology from the MLS books to the internet to cell phones, to be able to have this in our hand and access the fact that I can use this for pretty much 5 of the 6 different methods of communication that I teach agents, right? There's 6 styles of communication, and the only one that can't be done through this is direct mail, right? To get in your mailbox. But even I could get in your mailbox by using an app like Postagram or some other tool to send you something. But I can even get face-to-face on this by doing FaceTime or by doing a TikTok or a Snapchat. So the evolution of technology has really got us to where we're at. But once again, there are still agents out there that aren't leveraging technology or AI the way they could. They're not going to be replaced yet, but at some point, the agent that is leveraging the technology and the old school sales techniques of face-to-face, belly-to-belly relationship building that I'm so focused on, I think will win out.